All right, hey there, hi there, Colonel Crank here. This is my second time recording this because it fucked up the first time. Oh, OBS is fun. But regardless, I just wanted to record a quick direct reaction, not reaction, bleh. I can see it to the future. Quick direct predictions before it probably gets announced today. This is getting recorded on the 17th, and by all metrics, it seems as if this direct is probably going to be announced on today and sent out on the 18th. We have that Among Us trailer that almost dropped, which I still can't believe the direct got leaked because fucking Among Us, and PRO's leaking it, or PRO's tweeting again. So it seems as if everything is building up towards a new direct getting announced. And so I just want to throw my hat into the ring, put out a quick predictions video, and say what I might think be there. Say what I think might be there. Yeah, you can tell this is unscripted. Um, I don't have a huge amount of expectations for this direct. I do think it's going to be kind of a smaller one because they've said that there's not going to be any Switch 2 games, and the fact that they said that, it's kind of making me think that, well, okay, they've said that they're going to talk about their new hardware in the next 12 months. They're probably saving a lot of their biggest projects for that next hardware. So what are they going to do for the Switch in that interim? At least enough for an entire direct, assuming this is just a regular old direct, which Furukawa just said a direct in that tweet. It could be a mini, it could be a partner showcase, but I think he would have specified that they were. So assuming this is just a normal old Nintendo Direct, 30 to 40 minutes, what do I think is going to get shown? Well, let me start off with what I think isn't going to be shown. I think obviously 3D Mario, Mario Kart, 3D Zelda, all the big stuff, that's next system. The fact that there's a 3D Zelda last year means that we're probably not seeing another one for like 8 years, maybe a fucking decade. So I don't think that's going to happen. I also don't think we're going to see a 2D Zelda. I know that a lot of people have been guessing that Grezzo might be doing something. Papagenos dropped those hints, which he later said was only a guess. There's been talks that it's been confirmed that Grezzo's not doing the Luigi's Mansion 2 remake. So a lot of people are curious as to what Grezzo's up to if they weren't doing that, if they weren't doing anything other than that Apple Arcade game Jet Dragon. People think there might be a 2D Zelda on the way, and while I think that's true, I don't think we're going to see it on the Switch. I think that's going to be held off to the next console because, hey, if we're not going to have another 3D Zelda for, again, almost a decade, it would make sense to do a 2D Zelda in the interim because, hey, 2D Zelda doesn't sell as much as 3D, but it still does incredibly well, and it's still a great way to get Zelda on that next console fairly soon. And I think if you pair it with a 3D Mario, you have a pretty good opening year. So I personally don't think we're going to see that 2D Zelda or anything from Grezzo yet. I think that's going to get saved for next gen. I also, as much as it breaks my heart to say, don't think we'll see a new Donkey Kong. I think Donkey Kong's getting saved for next year, not just for the new console, but the fact that the theme park's going to be opening in Orlando next year. It just makes sense to say, hey, let's hold off on that. And I think even the Osaka park got delayed to, I want to say, late 2024. So yeah, makes sense to wait on a new Donkey Kong and do that closer to when all of the theme parks are open across the world for him. As for what I do think could be there, I think this is mostly going to be the time of ports and remakes. So there's been that rumor of Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War, coming out with a remake. If that's true, get that out and get people playing it because Fire Emblem has just been a consistent moneymaker, and a remake is a nice way to get people held over while you're making the next one. I do think we'll probably see those rumored Twilight Princess and Wind Waker ports because, hey, they're still Zelda, they'll still make money, but they're also not huge projects, so you don't have to necessarily worry about, oh, is this going to break the bank, or oh, is this going to be potentially wasting a project, quote unquote, on the Switch when we could bring it over to the Switch too. It's like, no, put this on the Switch, let it make some money for the holiday, and then you go. Good. And then you're golden. Yeah. Um Same with Primes 2 and 3. They put out Prime Remastered. We're going to get into Prime 4 in a second, but that game is still supposedly coming, so makes sense to put Prime 2 and 3 there, and makes sense to have those games ready for the Switch and get everybody just caught up on the trilogy. And finally, this is not based off any leaks or any previous remasters, but I would kind of like to see something Star Fox. I would like to see Star Fox return again. It feels as if that series is constantly in just such a experimental phase ever since Assault, really, where they had Command with the weird touchscreen controls and all the multiple endings. Star Fox Zero being a retelling of 64, but with gamepad controls that nobody really liked. I would just like here is a remaster slash remake of Star Fox Assault. It is just the Star Fox gameplay you love, along with the first person shooter gameplay, which I have a soft spot for, even if I know a lot of other people don't like. But just, hey, we brought back Star Fox. We're going to be doing something with it. Let's get that out. I think that could be nice, but I know there's been talks of a Kid Icarus Uprising remaster slash remake. With those job listings that people have pointed to for that, they're pretty recent, so I don't know if that project would be ready in time. But me personally, I'd love to see Kid Icarus Uprising come out with the 3DS eShop dead and no real way to legally purchase that game other than paying a scalper an insane amount of money. It would be nice to have that on modern consoles as an easy means of access. Not to mention that game has always had such bizarre controls, so putting it on the Switch and putting it somewhere where you could flesh out that control scheme and make it not quite as awkward would also just be a godsend. No pun intended. As for the big first-party Nintendo titles, though, there's really only one or two. There's only really two I think we could see here. The first one is Mario Party, which I know Midori basically fell to bits. I know everything with Midori basically went to shit recently, so there's a good chance that most of their information that's not Sega Atlas stuff, Sega Atlas related, is bullshit. But they did talk about a new game coming from ND Cube, and that got me thinking that, yeah, a new Mario Party does make sense. I'm pretty sure they bookended both the Wii and the GameCube with those. And they're also not super difficult games to make. They're pretty simple. So if you just wanted to do a new Mario Party for the end of the Switch's life cycle, it would make sense of just, hey, here's a new Mario Party, pop it out there, and have fun. So I could see that happening. As for what else we could see there, though, the other big first party title, Metroid Prime 4, it's so weird with this game. This was one of those games that they originally sold the Switch on. This and Mario Odyssey, basically. And out of all the games that have been hotly anticipated for the Switch that took forever to come out, we had Tears of the Kingdom, that's out. We had Bayonetta 3, which was also announced in 2017. That's been out for 2 years. It's really only Prime 4 that's been MIA, and it's a title that a lot of people are hotly anticipating. Metroid's weird in the sense that when you look at its actual sales, it never quite hits the big leagues. Metroid Dread did a respectable 3 million, and what's the word? Think. Prime Remastered sold 1 million in about like a month, 2 months, but Metroid never quite hits the 5 million, never quite hits the huge sales that a lot of people expect out of the series for being a first-party Nintendo series, and being a series that basically spawned its own genre with Metroidvania. But for some reason, Metroid Prime, or Metroid in general, just never seems to hit that. But I think if Metroid Prime 4 comes out at the tail end of the Switch's life cycle, when the console already has such a huge install base, and it is a big new 3D Metroid, I think it could potentially finally hit the sales that people expect for Metroid. And while I know some people think they might pull a Breath of the Wild with it and release it on both consoles, which I could see, I think putting it out on the Switch where there is already a large install base makes the most sense. Just give those people who are maybe hungry for a new game and are kind of sitting there waiting for the Switch 2. Here's one last big title to hold you over, and maybe we can see if we can get some new Metroid fans out of that. At least that's my train of logic. Whether or not that's actually what happens, who knows? And they did promise this game for the Switch. I do think they will keep that promise. They kept their promise putting Breath of the Wild out on the Wii U, even if it was like literally the last Wii U game ever. So I still think that's coming to Switch, and I think that could be this year's holiday title. This could be their swan song, quote unquote, to cap off the console. And that's kind of what I expect out of major Nintendo releases. Again, I'm expecting this to be a smaller direct if they're not going to talk about Switch 2 stuff. And this will probably just be a way of clearing out whatever they had left for the Switch. And that's also kind of how I feel about third parties, too. I don't think we're going to get any more quote unquote miracle ports to the Switch. I think it is just going to kind of be, hey, let's have, like, I could see Capcom coming out and being like, hey, let's put out Mega Man Star Force on here. Let's put out Mega Man Legends. I could see, I don't know, Square Enix having another smaller 2D RPG, which I've been really enjoying their stuff. I know there was talks recently about Dragon Quest III remake finally getting shown again. I personally love that. It's been too damn long since that game got announced, and there's just been no news on it. But the most I could expect from third parties, and this is pie in the sky, so hear me out here. Konami has been slowly returning to the video game industry. They've been doing that litany of Silent Hill stuff for the Silent Hill 2 remake and Silent Hill F. They've been bringing back Metal Gear. They even brought back Contra alongside Way Forward. But out of all of their series, the one that's been missing is Castlevania, despite the fact that Castlevania has been doing a bunch of collaborations lately. Castlevania and V Rising, Castlevania and Dead Cells, Castlevania in... Shit, I want to say, didn't they do costumes for Fall Guys or something weird? They've just been putting Castlevania in everything, but they've not had a new game. And that strikes me as very suspicious. And the same person who broke the story on Metal Gear Free Delta, Metal Gear Solid Delta, did also say, yeah, and a new Castlevania is in development. And since Castlevania has had a pretty lengthy history with Nintendo, dating all the way back to the NES, obviously, and again with the Game Boy Advance and the DS, I could see them announcing a new 2D Castlevania and giving that a big push on Switch. Maybe not enough to make it Switch exclusive, but I could at very least see them using it to, you're using it direct to market it, the same way they did for Contra Operation Galuga. So that's kind of the most of what I'm expecting. Like I said, this was just kind of a quick video to explain what I think might happen with the new direct. I'm not expecting anything huge. I'm expecting just kind of like chill, hey, here's what we have left. And here's maybe a big blowout on Prime 4. But other than that, I wouldn't predict too much. There's some stuff I'd like to see. I know I said I don't think we'll see a new Donkey Kong game, but if this is going to be the time of ports and remasters, I would love a definitive edition of Donkey Kong Country Returns where, hey, it's 60 FPS like the Wii version, but it has the extra levels that Monster Games did for the 3DS version. Just a definitive version of DKC Returns would be nice. I'd love to see some kind of Star Fox release, even if it is just a remastered version of Assault. I could see another Kirby, and I could see another Kirby spinoff, because Kirby spinoffs have been pretty consistent. Last year they had Dream Buffet, which was that little weird racing game. I wonder if they'll maybe try another just weird concept, whether it be another rhythm game or a party game or something along those lines. Uh, I'm not really sure what they would do, but I could see another Kirby spinoff wrapping up the system while they work on the successor to Forgotten Land. But that's about it. I just wanted to put this out. Again, we'll see in a few hours if this gets announced. If it's not announced today, I suspect it'll be at the latest. At the latest, I think it'll get announced Wednesday and happen Thursday. But I do think it's probably happening this week. That's all I wanted to talk about, though. Hope you all enjoyed. Crank out.